Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Here with Doug. I want to introduce what we're going to be doing here on a kind of bi-weekly basis. Today, we're going to learn more about Doug, his background, what made him join Cybin, but going forward, we'll definitely be chatting about the company, mix in some Q&As and some other stuff. So please, if there's anything you guys want in the videos or questions you guys have, drop it below and we'll make sure it gets in there. But Doug, first things first, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Leading up to the culmination of several months of hard work towards the New York Stock Exchange, so it's finally happening this week. So congratulations to the Cybin team. But I think we're in a good place after many months of a little stress, I should say.
For sure. Well, congratulations. I know a lot of hard work in the background, and for everyone curious, we're recording this the day before they get listed. So obviously busy times. But here, let's dive into it. So usually like to kick off like early kind of career. I know you've got a star-studded bio, so if you want to kick it off somewhere early, and we'll walk through some of the kind of big highlights of your career, and then of course lead it into why you joined Cybin.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason. Look, I've been in healthcare my entire career, which is, gosh, over 30 years now, which makes me feel really old. But I actually started in a lab. So out of high school, I worked in a hospital pathology lab. So I was testing blood samples and things like that. And so, which was actually my first sort of I was a teenager, 17 or 18 years old. And it was my first introduction to depression and addiction, which kind of come full circle, right, with what we're doing at Cybin. I'd be taking blood, doing blood tests in the middle of the night. And in the middle of the night, most of those tests are coming from the ER. And that's pretty much teenage drug overdoses or suicide attempts. So that was a pretty stark learning at that early age. But I think I've kept that with me my whole career. But yeah, healthcare, my entire career, started in a lab. I went into sales out of college, carrying the bags, selling to GPs, and then into marketing, business development, M&A, just kind of the deals just kept getting bigger. And then for the last dozen or so years, I've been the CEO of 4 different pharma companies. So 2 private, 2 public. 2 of them were startups and 2 of them were turnarounds. So I've been really fortunate to have a sort of mix of experiences, both good and bad. I mean, it's not all plain sailing. You definitely learn a lot more from the mistakes and from the hard times than you do when things are good.
Yeah, well, let's dive into some of these a little bit deeper. Do you want to kind of let's chat about the public ones, I guess, a little bit. Do you want to kind of intro those kind of quickly, just what the companies are about, and kind of also what made you move on?
Yeah, so I was chairman and CEO of Pernix Therapeutics, which is a NASDAQ traded company. That was my first experience leading a public company. And I learned a lot from that is very applicable actually to Cybin. I learned that, for example, as we've done recently, you raise capital when you can and not when you need it. We certainly went through some ups and downs at Pernix with a great growth trajectory early on, and then it got a little bit harder. So at Cybin, we've been very strategic about when we raise capital, such as our recent raise where we closed on $34 million, which will continue to strengthen the balance sheet and help us drive those programs. But Pernix was a specialty pharma company. And by that, it meant the model there was repurposing existing molecules through drug delivery or other technologies we can apply to molecules we already know a lot about. And when you think about it, that's really what we are at Cybin. Psychedelic molecules have been known for several decades. We know a lot about their chemistry and their metabolism and about their toxicology, which is a really good starting point when you're doing drug development, because a lot of those unknowns are now taken off the table. So really now our focus at Cybin is we don't have to go through all of that decades of learning. We can use that bedrock of knowledge and apply chemistry and drug delivery technologies to take these well-known molecules, which are all flawed in different ways, and turn them into useful therapeutics. So a lot of parallels between those 2 experiences, for sure.
Yeah, well, let's dive into what makes you join Cybin. So extremely interesting, obviously a emerging space, psychedelics. Curious, even before you were joining, did you have a outlook on the psychedelic space before, and then obviously seeing things happening in the space made you a bigger believer? Just curious on what you were seeing before joining Cybin, and then obviously why you joined would be really interesting.
Yeah, well, my background is molecular biology, and I've been in pharma for 30 years. So clearly, I knew about psychedelics, and these are not new treatments. But a lot of my motivation was personal. I talked about my younger experience, but in my family, I think like all of us, I've encountered these challenges. My dad's sister took her own life many years ago. My mother actually died from lung cancer, but it was her addiction that caused her to have the lung cancer. She was addicted to smoking. So these are very personal things, and I've seen over the years in my family and my friends' families, people that have been suffering with mental health disorders across the spectrum, whether it's anxiety or depression or some form of addiction. And there's really not much out there that helps people. And during this pandemic, things have just gotten worse. And I think, like many other people, uh, around the time the pandemic was starting, maybe a few months in, when the opportunity at Cybin arose itself, I was just more acutely aware of these challenges, just like the rest of us became more acutely aware. And so you take that personal drive, you combine it with the business model I just talked about, the kind of specialty pharma model. And then the other aspect was this immediate chemistry with the founders at Cybin that all had a shared passion for moving these molecules forward and creating real treatment. So it was just serendipitous, I think, and many things came together at the same time. It was just clearly the right thing for me to get involved in.
Yeah, no, awesome. Well, look, obviously love the passion. Fantastic to hear those kind of stories, and looking forward to seeing what you're going to do. But here, before we dive into, things in the coming weeks, kind of my last question for you, and I see people ask, as the CEO of Cybin, what does your day-to-day, week-to-week look like? Other than listing on, New York Stock Exchange, what else is kind of thrown in there?
We're growing really fast. So we've gone from, in the last year, 5 people to over 50 people. And of course, that's a process of hiring every single one of those folks. And we've been very careful and selective about our culture. Our culture is the most valuable thing to us. We know the molecules are solid. We know the science is solid. But you really need good, strong culture, especially in the beginning, to overcome all the hurdles. So it's been, really like drinking from a fire hose for the last year, and the team has been tremendous. So each time we add new folks, we are expanding our capabilities, we're accelerating what we can do, we're building processes and procedures. And what's my day like? It's 8 or 9 hours on Zoom every day, because we formed the company largely during the pandemic. So for many of our team members have never met each other. So it's really been about building that culture virtually, embracing technology, and more than ever, over communicating. And that's something that every startup needs to do. But when you can't physically be together, having these tools has really been fantastic. So the team is growing, the science is growing, and I think as we get past this major milestone on the New York Stock Exchange, we've really got a shifting focus into optimizing operations and bringing our treatments forward and into man.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, look, lots to cover. Some good teasers there for things we're going to talk about in future videos. But, Doug, thanks so much for taking the time. Again, congratulations to yourself and the team. I know a lot of background work that goes into getting on the New York Stock Exchange, not an easy task. So again, congratulations. Last thing, if there's anything about you wanted in here, I know for those who have gone to the Cybin website and clicked on bio, they say you love cookies or you love boating. I mean, I have to ask, or you talk about cooking. What's your favorite meal? Throw it in here.
Yeah, so I do love cooking and I do love boating for two different reasons. Cooking for me is relaxing. So at the end of a stressful day, I cook to unwind, and a whole range of things. Right now, I'm really into cooking Greek food because I just came back from Greece. Um, and then the boating side of things, boating is incredibly it brings an enormous amount of humility because one wrong move and you are going in the wrong direction, or you're crashing your boat, or you're stuck on a sandbar. And so it really brings a lot of it's really humbling. So those two things kind of keep me disengaged, if you like, in downtimes from the day to day. So, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, awesome. Well, Doug, thanks so much for joining. I'm looking forward to hopping on another one of these soon.
Look forward to it, Jason. Thanks for having me today.